Yeah, that's right. Daylight savings time. That's on the legal one.
All right. Our daylight standard. All right, good morning, folks. Welcome to today's school board workshop. And so, as usual, we'll go through each item. And colleagues and superintendent, if you have anything, please just let me know and we'll stop there and take care of that. All right, so of course, we'll go through each item. The first item is called to order, and then second is to approve the agenda. And we do have an agenda change for this evening. We've added item 7.18, School Readiness Contract, at the request of Brooke Barron, Director 1, Curriculum and Instruction. We added item 7.19, appropriation of District 3 School Board Member Capital Outlay Funds to Edge Elementary School for Clear Touch panels. Okay? So those are the changes that we have. And then that brings us down to Section 3, and these will be recognitions, and we have two tonight. 3.1, recognition of Ruckle Middle School Dance Team 2025 Universal Dance Association Junior High Division Game Day State Champions, presented by Superintendent Chambers. And then 3.2, recognition of Ruckle Middle School Cheerleading Team 2025 Large Junior High Division National Champions, presented by the Superintendent.
Dr. White?
Yes, sir.
I have just a curious question.
All right. Yes, sir.
We changed to middle school status.
Yes, sir.
Still junior high throughout the state and the nation. I was just curious on that.
Well, I know that many districts have middle schools like we do now, and I've been around so long. I was part of the conversion. When we went from junior high to middle school in Okaloosa County. I don't really know, Superintendent, if we have junior highs still in the state. You may have some superintendent associations that do. I'm not aware.
So I'm not aware, not to say that that's not the case, but I know our surrounding districts and superintendents that I speak with, I know they have middle schools structured as we do, but I know that across the nation there's still junior highs, which is some of these cheer or dance competitions still go towards that designation, but I know our surrounding districts, and I believe many of the districts across the state have middle schools, and of course K-8s as well.
But we do have a relic left from the junior high years, and it's really one of the things that I think the school district's very proud of, and that's the fact that we have a full complement of middle school athletics and student groups, band and music and all different kinds of things. And we're very unique in that respect in the state of Florida. Surrounding districts that do have middle schools, I don't think they have the full complement of activities that we do.
No, I think you're absolutely correct, and I like the word that you used, Dr. White, which is unique, and I think that's very true. There are school districts that do have middle school sports around us, but we have a full complement, and then there's many that do not have middle school athletics. It's all after school type of events in the community. And then of course our band and choral programs like you talked about at the middle school level, I think they're second to none.
Yeah, I think those other districts, maybe those activities are more akin to intramurals, is what they call them. But ours are actual competitive events, and that was left over from our school district decided to keep that. Okay. And by the way, I would say that wasn't something that was cheap either.
That is correct.
That's what I was going to say, and pay for it.
Oh yeah, that's a big thing. All right, is that good, Mr. Heinley?
Yes, thank you very much.
All right. Okay, so then 3.2, did I already read that one?
You did.
Ruckle? Okay, all right, we'll make sure we didn't miss it. All right, Section 4, admin appointments, there are none. Section 5 would be public comment for agenda items. Section 6, 6.1, financial and federal single audit for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2024, report number 2025-118, February 2025, presented by Ms. Perry, Chief Financial Officer.
Dr. White.
Yes, sir.
I have quite a few comments on this one. So,
all right.
First off, kudos to Ms. Perry and your whole staff for no findings. I mean, to me, and I want to put this out on public record, you know, it's a legal responsibility, and one of our main responsibilities as board members is the fiduciary side of a taxing authority, a very large taxing authority. And Ms. Perry, having no findings in an audit, which I have a lot of experience looking at audits, is excellent. So thumbs up. But just for the public record, I want to, looking at our financials, so we had a total net position decrease of approximately 7.5 million from the previous years. Now in that, our total revenues down, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I have messed up my numbers here, but from year to year, our total revenues are down about 7 million. Our property taxes total went up about 15 million in our district. Our sales tax went down by about $500,000, and where our largest was grants, we're down about 25 million over year to year. Am I wrong?
One thing we have to remember is that we were coming from ESSER funding and to not ESSER funding.
When you say ESSER, you mean all that COVID funding
yes,
that
sir.
came from the federal government?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir. And so we had expended most of that to make sure that we could use it and set money aside. But in 23, 24, we really didn't have as much ESSER money as we did the previous year.
Right.
And then, of course, this year,
But Ms. Perry, would it be fair to say that every school district experienced the
yes,
loss
sir.
of that funding? So you
Definitely.
might find similar?
Sure. I mean, I wasn't being negative on it. I was just
Right.
saying, because
Well,
we
it's-
had 34 million ahead the year before. So, I mean, what we've done is great. And the expenses have increased from year to year 42 million. Now, I just want to say, in that includes facilities, acquisition, and constructions that went up 16.6 million from the previous year. And we all know that because we've been to all these ribbon cutting, which is great. But what I want the public to know is our instructional piece increased 16.7 million. So it's not like we're throwing all our money into the infrastructure only. So, I mean, I think that's huge, and that's what the public needs to know. Because the number one question I get from my constituents is about money. Because, I mean, even being a board member and trying to read these financials is very difficult. Much less when you're, before I was a board member, I never looked at the financials. So the whole thing is, my whole point is, we're doing more for less in Okaloosa County, and your staff and everything is thumbs up, no findings. So we're doing really good. I want the public to know that. And all they got to do is look in the books, and it's right there. So good job.
thank you.
Good comments, good analysis. Thank you, Mr. Heinlein. All right, thank you, Ms. Perry. All right, then consent approval, 7.2, motion to approve the minutes of the workshop meeting of February 24th, minutes of the regular meeting February 24th, all recommended by the superintendent. 7.3, appropriation of District 2 School Board Member Capital Outlay Funds to Florosa Elementary School for professional learning room furniture in the amount of $1,000 presented by Mr. Parker Destin and recommended by the superintendent. 7.4, appropriation of District 3 School Board Member Capital Outlay Funds to Florosa Elementary School for professional learning room furniture in the amount of $29,149.76, presented by Ms. Linda Vanchek and recommended by the superintendent. 7.5, appropriation of District 4 School Board Member Capital Outlay Funds to Florosa Elementary School for professional learning room furniture in the amount of $1,347.36, presented by Mr. Tim Bryant and recommended by the superintendent.
Dr. White,
Yes, ma'am.
I want to thank Mr. Destin and Mr. Bryant for helping with that big purchase at Florosa. She's not asked for very much in a while, but this is a project she's had, so thank you for willing to help on that expense.
All right. Going on to 7.6 now, invoices to be approved for payment presented by Ms. Perry and recommended by the superintendent. 7.7, school donations presented by Ms. Perry and recommended by the superintendent.
Dr. White,
Yes,
I'd
sir.
just like to point out, we're in excess of $380,000 this fiscal year from the community. So I never want to take that without giving the kudos to the community.
That's
a
great.
lot. Yep, very supportive. Thank you. All right, so 7.8, Okaloosa County School District proposed budget from revenue share for the Dory Schlossberg Driver Education Safety Program presented by Ms. Perry and recommended by the superintendent. 7.9, tag on bid ITB 25-0285-BMC walk-in cooler freezer presented by Mr. Wyndham and recommended by the superintendent. 7.10, tag on bid award SDOC-25B-059-GC large kitchen equipment and smallwares catalog discount bid presented by Mr. Wyndham and recommended by the superintendent. 7.11, tag on bid purchase over $50,000 to Howard Technology presented by Mr. Wyndham and recommended by the superintendent.
Dr. White, I have a
Yes, sir.
question on that.
Yes, sir.
I believe I got an email, and that was the DODEA schools grant that money came in. I'm not sure it is. And there's 13 clear touches that are being spent.
Yes, sir. All funds are coming from the 2020 DODEA grant, which we're closing out this year. And one of the advantages, and we get incentives for writing new grants, is when we spend down to zero. And Jason and Ms. Perry's team they do a very good job of helping us spend every penny.
Okay, I have a political question. What's the matrix on the schools you chose for those clear touches?
They are, well, to be a DODEA school, you have to have a minimum of 10% military-connected students, which these do.
Right.
The other was, these are schools that are more of our area of concern, where we have some science learning gains that we really wanted to emphasize. Okay. So I spoke with the principals, and we agreed on what classrooms they might be most effective in.
Great answer. Thank you.
And Mr. Hindley, also great question. Ms. Ellis, come on back if you would. And this DODEA grant has been in existence for a good bit of time, but I want you to take a moment and just explain the DODEA grant, the emphasis in terms of the focus, because there's a science and math component as well, and what we've done.
Yes, sir. So Stephanie Gillis and she does the math curriculum, and I do science, and these grants help support the last two. We've had 4 since I've been here. The last 2 have been called Engage and Engage 2.0, and this is to make an interactive classroom and increase the technology in our secondary science and math classrooms. And so these grants started with adding iPads in the students' hands, as well as large monitors and teaching iPads, so that math and science teachers could get up and move around the classroom, as well as project as they're moving around, not stuck behind an Elmo back in the day or a projector or anything, so they can move around and assist students. So that's these grants also had a healthy body and mind focus, which we were allowed to use some curriculum to explain to students how being healthy with what they eat, how they rest, how they de-tech, how they move around impacts their learning. And that was the basis behind those 2 grants.
How they de-tech?
De-tech, mindfulness, take a break from your phone, your earbuds.
Okay, that's what I thought it meant.
Thank you, yes.
All right.
And then strategically at the high school in terms of subject matter, and then middle school, elementary.
Yes, sir. So we targeted the middle school science and math, all courses, and then in high school we selected our EOC courses, biology, algebra, and geometry.
And then we did not go down to elementary.
Yes, the DODEA frowns upon, we did have one grant originally before I got here that was K-12, and because that's such an enormous task, DODEA actually recommends writing it for either elementary or for secondary.
I'll just comment, thank you always for sending your emails and all. But when I saw that email, I was sitting there thinking, that's 13 less clear touches we're going to be requested. So.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. These grants have supported about 5,000 iPads in classrooms, as well as about 150 large monitors, as well as we have 80 what we call TEC teachers. They're technology enhanced classroom teachers. They came to a training in the summer and received extra technology for their classrooms.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good job. All right, so we got 12.5, large kitchen equipment. 12.12, 7.12. 7.13, amendment to service agreement number 25-9850 therapy, presented by Mr. Wyndham and recommended by the superintendent. 7.14, memorandum of understanding between the school board and Big Smiles, Florida, presented by Ms. Schroeder, student services, and recommended by the superintendent.
Dr. White, could I get elaborate on that program? That's new to me. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I think Ms. Schroeder might be, but I know that she's not available, so superintendent.
Good morning. This program is a great program. They come on a big bus and they serve our underserved students and uninsured students and provide dental cleanings, any reparative work that they need, like such as fillings, sealants, things like that, at no cost to the families.
Oh, that's awesome. Is that throughout the year, or is it?
Yes, sir. And then Big Smiles and Ms. Schroeder work together to determine the schools. So most of the elementary schools they go to are Title I schools.
Okay, that's great. I saw they had to have some infrastructure requirements. Do we have? They plug in 250 amps. So that's all set for them.
For the bus, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
They had that bus here, I think it was last year when we did this.
It did come
And we
from-
got to go and tour it out in the
Okay.
parking lot. It's really cool.
It's an incredible program.
is.
We're very lucky.
Yeah, very nice.
Mrs. Ivanchek tried to get in the driver's seat and tried to drive the bus off, but we didn't let her.
That's right.
They were testing elementary last week.
Yep, that. Right. Okay.
All right, thank you. All right, so 7.15, Secondary Workforce Development Capitalization Incentive Program, CAP Grant, for fiscal year 24-25 by Ms. Jennifer Beasley, Program Director, Career and Technical Education, and recommended by the superintendent.
I'm excited about this one because this is for Baker. And I saw in there they're getting a tractor and all kinds of fancy, neat things to go along with that ag science program up there. So this is going to be a real boon to what they're getting along with as we're working on those classrooms. So it's going to be really something. So this is exciting to.
There'll also be a greenhouse.
Yes.
Right near the building.
Yeah, and if I read it correctly, with all this equipment, not only they're going to grow their own crops and everything, but then they can move into selling it, and it just ends up getting revenue for the program. So that is really exciting.
And Mrs. Ivanchek, I would say this is an example of the community asking for certain programs. I'm just very proud of Ms. Beasley, Mr. Martello. I know you've been an advocate as well, but agriculture up there is a real thing. And to be able to have a program that meets the needs of the community, I think is special.
Yes, and Miss Wickery, the teacher, is all in this. She is so good, and it's exciting to have that.
All right, very good, thank you. All right, so 7.16, request for course code adoption for 25-26 school year for Crestview High School by Ms. Gillis and recommended by the superintendent. 7.17, request for course code adoption for 25-26 school year for all high schools, presented by Ms. Gillis and recommended by the superintendent.
I have a question on both of these, if Ms.
Okay.
Gillis would help me out. She's like,
You ladies who have requested the courses, because they'll have probably more specific
Okay, well-
answers for you.
on 16,
Yes, ma'am.
this, hold on. This is the American Political System Honors Program? Okay, so my question is, it's for ninth graders.
Yes, ma'am.
So you're putting all the ninth graders in this honors piece?
Yes, ma'am. Unless they decide to opt out of it. We're doing it because our government, okay, so U.S. government was originally in 12th grade.
Yes.
Switched to ninth grade, and we asked all of our ninth grade, like not all of them, but a lot of our ninth graders, we had conversations, one-on-one conversations with them, and they felt like they were not prepared for the FCLE. Like they were kind of rushed through the material, and they felt like a year-long course would be more appropriate. And so we looked at some course options, and we would choose the American Political System, the regular course, but that is not available. So we chose the honors one, and we felt like giving all of our freshmen an honors course might motivate them to see that they can be successful in an honors course and allow them to go on and try other honors courses as well.
Okay, so did the state change the government back to ninth grade?
I don't believe that's a state thing. That is
No, ma'am.
a county.
Miss Barron, come forward. So one of the things that we've looked at is with the U.S. history exam, also looking at the civics exam. So we've done a restructure here in our county where civics was in 7th grade. We are now, I think, finishing this year where it'll be in 8th grade, and then having a seamless transition from civics to the courses that Mrs. Barron is going to explain all the way to U.S. history.
So they're going to do civics in 8th grade, and then when they get to the ninth grade, they're going to do one semester of government, which they had to have anyway, okay. And then they're going to do a semester of this American Political Systems honors.
Yes, ma'am.
So again, I'm looking at that student that might not do well in an honors class, because that's going to be, what's our backup plan if they don't do well? What do we do?
And we have discussed this with our teachers, and they feel like they can prepare them for they're going to have to do some differentiated instruction to make sure that they prepare them for this, like to get them where they need to be. They might have to spiral back from what they learned in 8th grade, and 7th grade, and move them on. So I feel like, and I know other high schools have done this same thing where they offer an honors course to all of their students in other areas. And so we want to try it and see what happens and see if it increases our FCLE scores. Because right now they're very low for the 9th graders.
And do you find that 9th graders are mature enough to really, because I remember when we had American government as seniors, and so now we're moving it back to, 9th graders? Are they?
If you're, I'll give my opinion if you want, but I mean.
You know what I'm saying, Miss Barron? We used to have that government.
I can speak to that, yeah.
Yeah.
They, so now that the state has added a financial literacy course that has to be taken, that wasn't a requirement prior to, so there has to be some place in the curriculum for them to do that. And what we were doing in the past, they were taking civics in 7th, then they were taking American history in 8th, then in 9th grade they were taking geography, then in 10th grade they were taking world history, then in 11th grade they were taking American history, and then they were taking government and economics. Well, when they added the financial literacy piece, it flows better with economics and financial literacy.
Okay.
For some schools feel that flows better this way. So we moved that to senior year. Some schools have chosen to do the financial literacy piece on the opposite side of government in 9th grade. This is just what Crestvew's progression looks like. But as a district, we decided that to better prepare our students for the American history test, and to better prepare our students in middle school for their civics EOC, that it made more sense to, civics is a high school level textbook. So instead of them taking civics in 7th, over the last 2 years, we've been making a progression to move civics to 8th, so that the students would be more successful having that extra year. Now they would have in middle school American history prior to taking civics. Then they would take civics and take their exam. Then when you go into 9th grade, they would then take government, and then based on the school, because different schools wanted to do different things. Crestview is wanting to do an additional semester of government per se, which is the American Political Systems course that we're talking about today. Some other schools like Fort Walton Beach High School decided they wanted to instead move that financial literacy piece up to 9th grade, so that if students didn't pass the course or struggled with it, they would have plenty of time to make it up before their senior year. But some schools like Crestview want to put that piece with where it would maybe naturally flow with economics. So you'd have economics and financial literacy in 12th grade. So then the natural progression would be they would take the government classes at Crestview 9th grade, and then in 10th grade we would move to take American government and take our test for American government in 10th grade versus turning around and taking world history in between. So they really have about 4 years of American history and government.
See, this is for Crestview, but is this going to be offered for all the high schools?
Not all the high schools are offering this course. Some of the schools are wanting to move the financial literacy piece up and take it opposite of government in ninth grade.
Okay.
So the schools were very divided on what they wanted to do based on the needs of their own students. And so Crestview has elected to take the American political systems, and that's what they want to put opposite of government. They feel like that it's best for their school to do it that way. We gave them the ability to choose what worked best for their school.
Okay, so I see on this it's weighted, it's getting a 4.5 instead of a 5. What was the rationale on that?
Well, the honors courses only get a 4.5. There is no AP version of this or
Okay.
IB version of this or ACE version of this. That's what would give them the 5.0.
Okay, but then on 7.17 on that capstone, that gets a 5.
So that ends in a certification. So if it
Okay,
ends
so
in
that
a
gets more.
certification, then you get 5.0.
Okay, that was my question on that and everything. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, well, I hope this is very successful. That'll be interesting to see how.
I hope so too. As the state adds new requirements
Those
for
numbers.
graduations, we have to find a place to fit it in. That'll be most successful for our students.
It's just
So-
interesting to have a weighted course, a honors course for every student in a grade.
Right, and that's, I think, where Crestview's talking about. They're going to have to provide scaffolding for that. I think it will push kids to be able to think that they're capable of doing an honors class and move into more honors classes after that. Again, she said students can opt out, that it would be an elective course. It's a social studies elective. So that's going to be the recommendation, is that they take that so that they can perform better on their exams. However, that course would not be a required course. So they could opt out and take some other social studies semester
To
elective there.
finish out that credit.
Correct.
Yeah,
They could
I
take a
gotcha.
regular elective there as well
So
for social studies.
so this is just Crestview this year. If we approve this, it'll, right?
Well, no, I think Baker is choosing to do this
Okay,
same
'cause it
course
said
as well.
Crestview.
They're the ones that are requesting the adoption,
I
but then
gotcha.
once it's approved, then any school can offer it once that course is approved by you.
So it'll be open to everybody to
Yes.
decide if they want
to
go
adopt
there.
it to their own school progression.
Great.
Okay.
Good. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have a side question.
Yes, sir.
Financial literacy, is that required by the state?
Yes,
How long have we been doing that?
it just started for this.
I knew it because my daughters didn't take it.
Yeah, it's yes, your daughters didn't have to take that piece.
It's apparent.
But it does teach all those things that you probably wish your daughters
Yes.
did know.
Your daughters go to the Heinley School of Finance.
I think it was ninth graders that started last
It is.
year.
It's a new requirement. Yes.
So, Ms. Sears, I have a question for you. Who will be teaching this class at Crestview High School? Do y'all have a teacher yet?
All of our government teachers.
And I will say this, Ms. Ivanchek, a lot of those government teachers I know personally, they're phenomenal teachers. So I think we're going to see some positive results out of that.
Oh, yeah.
And I was also going to share, these are the standards that I pulled off the CPOMs for government is and this is regular U.S. government as compared to the American political systems, and you can see the overlap is in pink.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a big overlap for our students. There's only I think a handful that are different.
And I would trust that the history of our U.S. presidents is in that.
Oh, my goodness. Just say yes.
Thank you, Ms. Sears.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so that was 7.17. We'll go down to 7.18. School Readiness Provider Contract presented by Brooke Barron, Director, Curriculum and Instruction, and recommended by the Superintendent. And then 7.19, appropriation of District 3 School Board Member Capital Outlay Funds to Edge Elementary School for a Clear Touch panel in the amount of $6,013.37, presented by Ms. Ivanchek and recommended by the Superintendent.
And Mr. Chairman, I'd like to thank Ms. Ivanchek for doing that for one of my schools in my district because I'm basically out of money.
Yep.
So July 1.
Glad to
No
help.
feeling.
Glad to help.
Okay.
All right. So that takes us now to Section 8, Superintendent's Human Resource Recommendations, 8.1, 8.2, Information Only. That would be employees on admin leave and deferred retirement option program. 8.3, Proposed Revision to Fiscal Year 24-25 Salary Schedule for Professional Technical Personnel, presented by Dr. Hale and recommended by the Superintendent. 8.4, out-of-field report for the 24-25 school year presented by Ms. Duran and recommended by the superintendent. 8.5, employment separations presented by Dr. Hale and recommended by the superintendent. 8.6, personnel recommendations presented by Dr. Hale and recommended by the superintendent. 8.7, employee transfers presented by Dr. Hale and recommended by the superintendent. 8.8, reinstatement reimbursement of sick leave due to line of duty illness, injury, medical examination presented by Dr. Hale and recommended by the superintendent. And then 8.9, leave without pay presented by Dr. Hale and recommended by the superintendent. Takes us to 10.1, program status report. Mr. Heinley, anything today?
That report will come tonight. I'll be meeting
Okay.
after this meeting.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Mr. Attorney, anything for your business?
Just one item, Mr. Chairman. Tonight, I would ask the board if you will, on the last agenda, the January 27th agenda, we had an item 10.3 under construction program, and there was a Scrivener's error in a dollar amount. The last figure should have been an 8 instead of a 6. And tonight, I'm simply going to ask if the board will correct that Scrivener's error for the record. And that's all I have.
Require a motion?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Colleagues? Okay. Anything else, sir?
No, sir.
All right. Superintendent, your business, sir.
Thank you, Dr. White, School Board. As you know, we've always highlighted our teachers and our educational support professionals, where we have a Teacher of the Year and an Educational Support Person of the Year. And as you remember, a number of years back, we got with Dr. Hale, the HR group, and we now have a Principal of the Year at the elementary and secondary level, as well as assistant principal. I do want to say, because of that process, we've been able to have assistant principals of the year at the state level. And this year we have, through the FADS program, we have the Florida NAESP National Distinguished Principal, and that's Dr. Donna Kelly over at Northwood. So just want to give her a huge, huge round of applause.
Yeah.
This is a national distinction. So I think to us that know her, it's no surprise. She's a hard-working, smart, intelligent principal who really works with her staff, does a great job academically, but just couldn't be more proud of her. You might remember the National Civics Bee, and this makes me proud because I know a number of years ago, I'd go to different events and people would say, "Do you teach civics?" And of course, we have civics as a standalone course in middle school, and then of course we have civics embedded within countless social studies courses as well. But the Fort Walton Beach Chamber came to us and they wanted to really push this National Civics Bee. And our middle schools did a great job stepping up. We have approximately 20 students who are going to be taking part in this, ranging from Northwest Florida Ballet to Destin Middle School, Ruckle Middle School, and Pryor Middle School. The top 3 finalists will be able to go to the state level and then hopefully even go to the national level. And we talk about, earlier you all said the community sponsors. And we're blessed to have those here in this county. And I say that all the time as well. But here are some that are helping with this endeavor. Eglin Federal Credit Union, Cox Communications, Chesser and Bar Attorneys, Sports Clips, if you need a haircut, and then Connexion. So just a number of different entities wrapping their arms around our students. So we're excited to see how that's going to unfold.
When is that?
That will actually happen tomorrow at 5 o'clock at the Greg Chappell AME Life Center. So that'll be this first round, and we'll see what happens after that. I'm going to briefly mention this next one because some of you were there, so you might mention it in your comments. If not, I'll come back. But STEM, they had their National History Day, and they do a good job of really pushing that. We'll have approximately 19 students that'll go on to the state level and have the ability to also go on to the national level. But that's all I'll say right now in terms of some of you might mention that, but just another strong program happening at our schools. About a month ago, we had our science fair, and we call this the East Panhandle Science and Engineering Fair, which we delve out a number of different awards. And I think I'd be remiss to say if it was not a spectacular event. So I appreciate Mrs. Ellis and the number of science teachers who really work hard to bring that program forward. But we have individuals who will go on to the state level, who will go on to the national level, who will represent us. And when you hear about some of these projects, which I can't even pronunciate or even comprehend, and they're doing this at the middle and high school levels, it's truly inspiring to see the type of work that our students are doing. It's pretty impressive. I'll just say that. In terms of community sponsorships, again, we were blessed to be at Niceville High School about a week or so ago, and there's a senior there by the name of Zachariah Flowers. It was a touching moment where Mullins Auto Body, they donated a 2013 Chevy Malibu LTZ to this young lady. And the owners of Mullins Auto Body, Mike and Amber Carter, you talk about touching, tearful, watching the reaction of this young lady receive this vehicle that they completely touched up, fixed. It looked brand new, of a 2013. It was just a great moment. So I appreciate Mr. Morello and Niceville High School working diligently to find a well-deserving student. We talk about fine arts in the county, and it's actually, in essence, Music Appreciation Month as well. But we have our choral programs last week did their version of the FSA, and the individual who ran this, because they always bring in people who lead this from outside, one of the things he said is he was thrilled that every school in Okaloosa County participated. And I thought to myself, well, of course they participated. But what he mentioned in his email to us was that many first-year teachers in choral programs, they do not participate in the MPAs, where our first-year choral teachers did participate in the MPAs. So he just really bragged about the level of not only being able to sing, but to be able to read the music and to be able to go through the pressure of such an event for our choral programs, but he really, really highlighted that. Also, our band MPAs are also going on. Last week, I think our high schools, this week our middle schools, but there was also an event on Saturday, and we know that we'll receive some distinguished awards out of that. We just recently had a all-county band, and it was neat to hear the folks who come in from out of state or even within state to lead these programs, and they just talked about the caliber of the band programs in our county. And I think it's a testament to our band directors, and then on the choral side, our choral directors, just the level of expertise and passion that exists within them. So I'm just so appreciative of that. We had another ribbon cutting, as you know, at Edwin's. It was nice, but I jotted this down, even though I know a number of you were there, because it's more than just the cafetorium. It's also the music room, the car rider line, the parking, the playground, the track, all of those things happening at one school. Again, if you go back 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, maybe one or a portion of one, but we would never have that many projects occurring at one school. So I know Mrs. Armstrong and her group, they were thrilled. The Purple Star District Distinction, Mr. Spolsky's been working with the military. They'll be here at the next board meeting where, in essence, we will thank them, even though we're receiving the recognition for what we do for those students. But, of course, we're thankful for the military in our schools. I do want to bring to the attention to the board, you may have noticed this past week, where the school start time bill from the Senate side, there was a vote to repeal it. And I think that still has to go through the process. Well, it still does have to go through the process, and it'll eventually go to the governor's desk. But right now, there's a repeal to that, and not really having any words either way, other than to give the board an update on that. And then, of course, spring break will be here next week, and just want to wish everybody hopefully a relaxing, rejuvenating time for the last push of the 24-25 school year. Thank you, Dr. White.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Superintendent.
Dr. White, I have a question for
Yes,
the
sir.
soup.
Okay.
That bill that's being repealed, the end game is that puts the power back into this board to do what we want at the local level.
Yes, sir.
Perfect.
Okay.
Oh,
All
is
right.
that what they're,
Go ahead.
Is that what there's going to say in that, or do you know? Is that what the plan is, or are we, that, what you just said was filed is actually repealing the mandate? But then there would have to be another thing come out that says districts have, because right now, we don't necessarily have that, do we?
So right now, my understanding is it still has to go through the process. It's gone through the Senate side, but it still has to go through the process. And what that would do is, just like it always was before, is it would put it in the hands of the local level.
Gotcha, thank you.
And that's actually a law, so it would have to repeal the law. But you have two big school districts right now that were really pushing that. That was Miami-Dade, and I believe it was Orange County was the other one that was pushing, like, hey, like Orange County actually tried it about 5 or 6 years ago. And after 1 year, they were like, hey, we can't do this. So
That's right. Okay, all right, very good. All right, thank you, Superintendent. Okay, so now that brings us down to board members' business, and as usual, I'll start with Mr. Heinley. Mr. Heinley.
Okay, I did attend quite a few things the last couple weeks. The Niceville car thing, I just want to publicly shout out to Mullins Auto Body. I mean, what a huge thing, and it was real dusty. We had to keep wiping our eyes during the, yes, so that community involvement, you know, I can't say enough about it, and that's just one example. The science fair I attended, and it's very humbling. Some smart kids out there and some very intricate, detailed projects they were working on. I did the National History Day at the STEM. That's another one. And I found out when I was doing that last year, we had one that got into the top 10, I think, in the national thing. So some very interesting, very diverse projects they worked on from history. Also attended the Niceville Valparaiso Chamber function where they identified the Teachers of the Year and the Support Employees of the Year for District 5. More community support, so just huge in that aspect. And to continue the tradition, board members, today is the 10th. Who was the 10th President of the United States?
I did my homework. It's John Tyler.
John Tyler, His Excellency. The first.
We had that before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
So who was the 25th president then?
The what?
She said we had that before, so we'll say who's the 25th president since it's the 2025 year.
Oh, okay. Are
That's-
you asking me?
I'm asking you.
Oh, that would be a man that had a mountain named after him,
McKinley.
McKinley.
Okay.
So like you can recite all of them?
Is that a challenge? Do I smell a bet?
I bet you can do that. I do, yeah. Okay.
All right, Mr. Vanchek.
All right, yes, okay. All right, I have some great news from our foundation. I'm telling you, this is so exciting. So the first thing is, well, first of all, tomorrow is the College and Career Fair that's going to be over at Beachside Community Church. Again, another partner that helps us out with that. We have about 300 students from Fort Walton, Niceville, and Choctaw signed up to attend already, which is great. We have 62 vendors who are going to be there. Long list of people who are taking their time to come and help our students learn career paths, college paths, all that. So we have financial institutions, everything. It's fabulous. They're going to be there. We're going to either feed them breakfast and lunch, and that's coming from the foundation. So listen, the Debbie Tate and Cindy Gates and Mr. Spolsky, all them, our foundation works really hard to get this together. So it's exciting. It's our 5th year doing it, and it continues to be very popular and well attended. So that's exciting. All right, so last week, some big news with the foundation. You know, we're always looking for a lot of different grants. So one of the grants from the DeLuca Healthcare Career Explorer and Excel goes, we won to go to Crestview High School to train and certify their entry-level students enrolled in their medical skills services program. And the initial grant is going to be just over $33,000, but it's renewable for 2 more years. So you're looking at about $100,000 on that. So that's fabulous to be able to do that. So that one's good enough. However, there's another big one that our foundation won. Out of the 13 applicants for this particular grant, Okaloosa won it. It said Okaloosa's vision stood out for its comprehensive approach to creating opportunities in rural communities. So again, this program is going to serve about 150 students in our rural areas and provide them with skills in horticulture, agri-technology, and hands-on experience through greenhouses, aquaponic systems, and internships. So our rural schools are having a moment, as they say, and getting a lot of things. So I'm going to stop there because I want Mr. Spolsky, who got to go with Debbie Tate over to accept this grant, I'm going to let him have the moment to, and Ms. Beasley, to announce about it. So this is really exciting.
Thank you, Ms.
It was
Vanchek.
so good, he called me and told me.
I did. 2 hours on the way home. Excuse me. 2 hours on the way home. I was very excited. But Danny Dean will be excited because I kept it under 80 miles an hour as I drove home. But I want to say thank you, Mr. Vanchek, for just a minute. I'll speak to it, and I'm going to let Ms. Beasley talk. So we were in a room, Ms. Tate and I, with Senator Burgess, Kennedy, a lot of legislators, and of course, Ms. Mary Chance from the Florida Consortium. And when they announced the Okaloosa Public School Foundation, a lot of our other county partners, county groups that have foundations wanted to know where we had a rural area in Okaloosa County. And they're not familiar with the north end of the county that has Laurel Hill that serves many students up there in that K through 12 environment. But the grant that was written by Ms. Paula Rogers, who works with Ms. Beasley, really focuses in on our ag program that they are going to launch. This is seed money, no pun intended, that will actually help them get this program rolling. We're very excited about it. So Ms. Beasley, if you want to take a second and tell them about it.
Absolutely. Yes, and the grant was called Growing Agriculture at Laurel Hill.
Yep.
We're really excited about it. Similar to some of the items we'll be purchasing for Baker, a tractor, which is a big deal, fencing supplies. They are going to have some animals as well, but they're starting out horticulture based, whereas Baker is doing animal sciences. But there's a lot of overlap in agriculture, and so they'll both share a lot of similar things. So we're purchasing curriculum, a tractor, farming supplies, things of that nature. We're really excited about it. The community is also, as Mr. Chambers said, we've been really lucky. The community is very much on board with this, and so they are helping with some in-kind donations along the way to get both those programs really going. Really
Yes,
well.
and if you'll let me add to that, it says that $50,000 pledged by Farm Bureau and $100,000 pending from the Yellow River Soil and Water Conservation up in the north end. So again, partners with this a lot of times it's matching grants. These things are loans. So that's, that's really exciting. So it's calling Growing Laurel Hill.
Yes.
So
Growing
I think this is so exciting. So the Baker piece we already saw, and then now Laurel Hill, it's fabulous.
And the matching is very important because those community partners were really waiting for this catalyst to happen, and it can be renewed. So this is something that Ms. Tate, Ms. Rogers, who works on staff with Ms. Beasley, is very excited about. And great job, Ms. Beasley.
Thank you.
This is exciting. Hey, I just, the two rural schools, the principals are husband-wife team. So I'm going to have to talk with the Martellos about getting this going. But this is exciting. This is exciting for our entire district, but it's great to see those two schools getting this program to this extent and so quickly that we've gotten going with this. So, and I'm very proud of the foundation and everyone, Ms. Rogers, everybody who was part of getting this done. So beyond that, I just want to wish everybody a safe and fun spring break. It's exciting to live where everybody else wants to come for spring break, but I hope everybody will be careful and everything and make sure it's a safe one. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Evanche. All right, Mr. Bryant.
Right.
Thank you, Dr. White. And I'll just piggyback on the Laurel Hill piece there real quick. I know over the last few years, this is something the community has been asking for. to get the agriculture program back going. And I know the district, with the leadership of the superintendent, getting some things done up there ahead of time, like redoing the greenhouse. Even though it's not a brand new greenhouse, that we were able to go in a couple of years ago and get it back running. As a matter of fact, they over the last couple of years, they do fundraisers where they'll sell plants and vegetables and stuff like that to the general public. So I know this is going to be a huge shot in the arm for them as far as getting that agricultural program up and running the way it should be. But Ms. Ivanchek's right. The community has been asking for this, and it's just really exciting to see this come to fruition. I will also just point out that during the last couple of weeks, you know, a lot going on, but I just want to say thank you to the superintendent for taking time once again to, you know, visit a few schools and transportation. We decided on transportation. Well, actually, the superintendent said, you pick out where we want to go. And we ended up starting at Transportation North. And we recognized a bus driver. We recognized some teachers at Walker and Davidson. But I'll just say this, it's always nice to be able to go in, and even though they knew we were coming, to see the employees, especially at the transportation department, because we talk about all the great things that are going on in our schools, but things like transportation, they're the catalyst of getting these kids to school. They're the first people that students usually see in the morning. If they ride the bus, they're the last. So they make a big difference. But our mechanics, one of the questions that was asked, we talk about, teachers needing supplies. We actually got a question about tools and stuff like that. So, those are things that the mechanics need to be able to keep those buses running. Now, they did say they're not working on as many buses as they used to because we got so many brand new buses, but they still have to do general upkeep and all that. But I'll just say that when we go into the schools, into the maintenance, the employees do appreciate that. And I know as a board, we all get into the schools and all that. And I think, just the opportunity to be able to see these teachers and employees and students. I'll just say, off the cuff moment, we were at Davidson and it was lunchtime. We're in the lunchroom and we walk in, and Mr. Chambers is the celebrity because his picture is all over the place. School board members, we don't have a picture all over the place. So we walk in and he goes immediately and sits down with students and starts talking to them. And, and then after that, it was like, hey, we need a selfie with the superintendent. And, but the kids really appreciate that. They get to see who their leaders are within the school, not just their school-based leadership, but there are people that are out there making decisions for them and hopefully give them a better opportunity for the future. And we also went outside, and I don't know what they called those things, but I know you were really impressed that we had how many students out there? 400 students out there at one time?
A lot.
Yeah. So, but we had it.
Middle school doing recess.
Yeah. Middle school doing recess, but it was a great visit. And again, thank you, Mr. Chambers, for taking time out of your busy schedule to go and visit these schools. On a couple of sad notes, though, some of y'all might remember Miss Patty Mitchell, who taught music up on the North End, very prominent person within the community. I know she never taught my kids, but she actually went to my church for a little while, and she did music with the kids there. Just such a sweet person, and unfortunately she passed away last week. And then yesterday we got the news that former assistant principal Crestview High, Ella Shaw, passed away. And those who knew Ella, I put it on Facebook once the family said it was okay to do it. Just the outpouring of just compliments people had for Miss Shaw was just unbelievable, just to hear how much of an impact she had. And, she's not Crestview native. She married a Shaw and ended up coming back to Crestview, and her first teaching job and her only teaching job was at Crestview High School. And she also did administration there toward the end. So she spent 35 years at Crestview High School making a difference. And a lot of people that made comments on the Facebook page, those are folks that have kids that are in high school now, and how much she made a difference. So, our thoughts and prayers go out to the Mitchell and to the Shaw family today. And that is it.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant. Mr. Destin.
Thank you, Chairman. I only have 2 comments. The first one was I attended the Florida History Day, I guess the prelude to the Florida History Day competition with at STEM. I missed you, Mr. Heinley. I think I came a little bit after, but they said you were there, and I know that as a fellow student of history, you had to have enjoyed it just as much as I did. I love going to STEM because you get to meet not only the staff, but the kids are just enthusiastic about learning. And as all of us in this room, I don't think it's an accident that we're here. I think all of us were enthusiastic about learning, and that's kind of how we ended up in these roles. But it's always nice to just see ubiquitous just enthusiasm for education, especially in history. Those kids are brilliant, and their parents. I mean, I can't say enough wonderful things about the leadership of the staff that's putting together the history. The history component over there, and how excited I am to have learned, like you had said, that some of these students have made their appearance at the national level, and out of 50 states, ended up in the top 10. That's something special, and I think we're going to see another good showing this year. I recently attended a symposium that was hosted by Okaloosa Leadership, or Leadership Okaloosa, and it was about 100 local business leaders came together. We had a government symposium, and I was one of the guests that was given an opportunity to speak, and it was great to hear your comments today, and Ms. Barron and your staff about how much we're investing in civics education, government education, history education, because the substantial portion of what we talked about in our symposium was sort of the need for civic engagement amongst our adults in all levels of government, and just generally trying to cut off at the pass some of what we would call civic illiteracy amongst the general public, because if they don't know how it works, they're less inclined to participate, and how much that's affecting any of our roles at the local level as local leaders when we just don't have people showing up to meetings, or we have folks that are really, really upset, but they're not necessarily understanding fully what they're upset about, or that their target of their ire is pointed at the wrong institution. Just the general illiteracy part has been a frustration for everybody at the local level, and that was mirrored by some of the questions we got from the audience. So it was very exciting to hear the investments we're making and the things that we're doing here in Okaloosa County to make sure that we're changing and bucking that trend. Other than that, those are my comments. Thanks.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Destin.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I want to add this because I heard Dr. Hale say it. I just want to say it. So the next few weeks is spring break, or it's already started. So when you're stuck on Mid-Bay Bridge, 85, 98, waiting in line in Mr. Destin's restaurant, just remember they're all paying into our school system with that half-cent sales tax. So that makes it a little bit less painful.
That's right. All right, thank you. All right, so that concludes board members' announcements. We go to 14, public comment, general comments for the yellow card. We don't have any, do we, Ms. Mary? All right. And so that concludes today's meeting. Let me call on Mr. Attorney. We're good here. Superintendent, all right. Colleagues, anything else from the dais? All right, staff, association, all right. This meeting is adjourned.
Ms. Beasley. Hey, have things started picking up at your restaurant?
Oh, yeah. 70-degree weather is what we need. People just pop out of the woodwork when it's 70 degrees. It doesn't matter what time of year it is. It could be in February, it could be March. But we're so weather dependent.